Okay, Auntie Tasha, I'm going to give you a moment for the live video to start on my page so you're able to share it before we get started.
Okay.
For people who are actually jumping
No.
on, you always come back with that little cough, your little allergies. Go sleep. So, people, y'all give us a moment. We're just making sure our tech is together. We're taking the time to actually do this video tonight because Dro's family actually just got home from getting up and traveling from Broward to Gainesville at 5 a.m. this morning. So it's been a really, really long day for them. But we wanted to make sure that we have this conversation tonight. This is a conversation that has been coming for a long time. This was the time that I initially was supposed to be forward facing for people to know that I was actually present and a part of actually what was happening. People being aware happened a little bit early because chaos actually started to ensue. We attempted with the first video that was formatted like this to kind of minimize that particular chaos. But sometimes, and people that know me and who have followed me for years will tell you, sometimes I put out fires with gasoline. And so the other day, it became necessary for me to put out fires with gasoline. I am very direct and bold. Some people say they are and are actually not. I'm very clear about who I am and very unapologetic. I want to be very clear that I aired the room and cleared it to be very clear that you're not going to play with me, especially when I'm stepping up in order to do something for my people that is actually the right thing to do. If you've noticed since that particular time, it is now back to business. We want to make it a point to do this in order to recenter and to get back to the issue at hand. And that is actually justice for Dro. In the initial video that was structured like this a few days ago, I think it was Monday, the 9th, what we were sharing is things are very, very, there's a process to things and sometimes getting justice, especially when the process that we think that our agencies are supposed to follow and the policies in order to be able to protect us are not followed. I've been with the family and communicating with them. There are steps that we had taken as it related to public records requests. Those were done some weeks ago. We sent a preservation notice, putting them on notice not to destroy any of the actual information. In the interim, they were informed that the case would actually be closed. But even as we requested records, they stated that those records were not available because even though verbally it stated that the case was closed, then they stated that it actually wasn't closed. They needed to close some things out. As a part of that process, as I guided them, one of the reasons we waited a bit in order to have the meeting is the goal was to actually have the evidence in front of us that when we met GPD, they could actually go over the evidence with us and we could actually ask very pointed questions. When the family got here today, the meeting was actually here in Gainesville today. They still stated that the records are still not available. For those of y'all who know me, I started in this in 2018. I am the queen of public records request. I want to be very clear that with the statute, it does not take this long in order to gather the records. So we will follow up, and I will be following up on Monday with Chief Moya, who is the chief of police, to see what the hindrance actually is. The statute can be vague as it states a reasonable time. We're running into a month now. We're way beyond that particular reasonable time. I want to be very deliberate about naming what was went on, what is actually the evidence. In the interim, as we met with GPD for almost 2 hours, after that, I accompanied the family as they actually sat another few hours and met with the actual private investigator that actually is taking this case. Super excited to also share what happened in the conversation with the private investigator. He has 22 years of law enforcement experience. He actually is nationally FBI certified. The fact that he had done so much groundwork actually prior to meeting us, the fact that his questions were relevant, the fact that he actually met with GPD before we did and was able to call bullshit is super, super exciting. And even with the things that he actually got and the information that he got from the family, that he's already on it, and the fact that he is certified, I went and did some additional information and actually found out actually is considered an expert. And he is who our judicial system, from our state attorneys to our public defenders to private attorneys, actually utilize in cases any case like this, and he is able to testify and is considered an expert witness. And so we want to lay out a kind of few things, because after that, we're actually in the midst of it. We received notifications. I received a lot of YouTube videos stating that this case was actually being discussed. I don't have time like that. If you know me, I definitely don't have time to sit for 7 hours and watch a video. But from the little bit of time that I did tune in, maybe it's me, because I'm not that person. So people know I am very clear that I don't speak on things unless I am very clear that I know what I am talking about. And to hear such egregious lies being told, and I want to be clear, there were some truths sprinkled in with a lot of lies, things that are very easily disproven. And I think the level of anger and the manner in which so many people have so much to say and they are blatantly and bold-faced being lied to, it takes me back to that adage, you need to gauge your source. And I want to make sure that we lay these particular things out. I have an elephant memory. I am very clear about what a position is, and I'm not going to speak on something unless I know fully what I am actually talking about. We are taking this time to set the record straight, and be very clear. This family hasn't spoken in some last days because I've asked them not to. Even today, as this was happening, the way that we recentered the conversation is we're handling the business at hand while they are attempting to mind your business. And we don't have time to lose focus on the business at hand, which is actually attempting to get justice for Dro. And so the reason we want to recenter that is so that we can get everyone back to center, because whatever happened and took place, and this is my position, Shanae's position, at this moment, the person who is benefiting the most from all this level of chaos is Lulu. And that's because Kiara is the person who was there and who was present, who fully knows what happens. And this level of chaos is beneficial to her in preventing us from getting to the bottom of that. And so we're handling it this way. All the other noise, we don't have time for that shit. I want to make sure that we're very clear as we're proceeding forward. I want to be clear that now is the time to be more forward facing, because now it's become necessary. Had it not been for people getting off kilter, divulging things and sharing things that were shared in confidence that they should not have, breaching trust, weaponizing a family's grief, we would absolutely not be here. Because I got other things to do. As I have explained to the family, and they knew that coming in, there are times, many times, that I go and meet with GPD and the family. Sometimes it's forward facing because it gets to be that to get what we want or need. And sometimes it's not because we're able to meet a resolution. The family is very clear. They can tell you I'm known there. Even as we were going to the conference room, they was like, you should know where it is. I've been all over this place meeting and advocating for families. So you got to tell me actually which one it is that we're actually going through. The way that we are actually going to start this is I actually want to center conversations that we actually had with the family and my communications with them. And the reason I want to do that first is because I now, and I will state this. So one, I had not actually watched any of Polo's videos at all. So any insight that I had gotten in which they share, I've got, like, I have friends, and with my friends, it's the meat and the potatoes. So they will state that he was very consistent and going hard. They hope that they get justice for the family. There's something that's not right about them. My friends don't like mess. So therefore, there's so much that they would wade through. They wouldn't share that particular part. When I'm talking to the family, they were always very consistent. We don't want anything to happen if that's not what it is. We just want to know what happened. We just want the truth to come out. That's what it's always been. When I have spoken with the family, it was shared with me that with Dro's mom, Renee, like they had a wonderful relationship prior to this happening. They had family cookouts together. So I was trying to figure out like what the disconnect was. They stated they had major and amazing relationship with Kiara. So for me and my feedback loop, I am trying to understand where there was a disconnect. When I reached out and engaged GPD to understand why is this family not getting the information that it needed, What was relayed to me by GPD is that they had shared all of the appropriate information with mom, and they thought that mom was fully convenient to the family and that there was a communication gap. And so for me, I was like, okay, that's easy enough to fix. And so I stated, we're not going to do any finger pointing. I came back and told the family, what we're going to do is closing the gap. So if GPD is adamant that they relay all of this to mom, now I'm going to get dad's side of the family to make sure that they get the exact same information that mom has. So there was no, oh no, this or that. Like for me, it was never any of that. So there was no reason, because y'all know I would get on here and cuss the bitch out. It was never any of that or any of that energy towards mom or anyone else, because to my knowledge, it was just okay. It was just a communication gap. Everybody grieves different. There's a lot of stuff going on. We're just trying to figure it all out. And so that's what it was. When I get to GPD today, lieutenants, and let me be clear, we're there with Captain Hallett and Lieutenant Scott. Everybody is very clear. Lieutenant Scott's father, Linus Scott Sr., used to be the chief of police. I can't stand him. To this day, I cannot stand Lieutenant Scott's father. So when I state to you that Lieutenant Scott is somebody that I actually deem to be trustworthy, I want to name that because people always state that, oh, it's just because you're going to kick the door in. No, there are some people that I actually truly believe in what they're doing. They are true to self and true to what it is that they're doing. So I want to name that. And I believe that they do work hard at trying to do the right thing. So I state that when I say that I believe Lieutenant Scott to be that person, I say that plainly. Captain Hallett, I don't feel that way so much. And I was very clear, even as it related to the family's issues with communication. They calling, they leaving messages. They're trying to get to the bottom of this. There are no phone calls back. There is no communication. Nothing is actually happening. As I stated to Lieutenant Scott, he was like, well, I hadn't followed up on some things because it's in Captain Hallett's wheelhouse and she's actually over me. I thought she followed up. I was very clear with him. She never follows up. As many times as I've reached out in many cases, let her know I'm keeping score. From there, Lieutenant Scott was the liaison in order to move things along to get the meeting actually scheduled to make sure that Captain Hallett actually followed through with the meeting. In the interim, Chief Moya's executive assistant, I doubled back with her to ensure that the public records request was actually moving along to make sure those things was happening so that nothing was actually stalling out and things was actually moving along. While these things was happening, I don't know what took place. I don't really care. So I'm not sure if it was that people were now going to realize that the actual truth was going to come out. So a lot of these so-called receipts that were being presented, it was going to be found out they're not actual receipts. It's a lot of shit that's actually made up or what have you. So I'm not even sure why the bottom fell out. I'm neither here nor there. So I want to be very clear with that. When we got in there, it was actually Lieutenant Scott that was the person that was taking the brunt of the things that we had to say. And the way that the meeting actually started is the family asked him, lay out for us. Well, first we asked, was the evidence and the things prepared in order for us to get it? They explained, no, it was not. They stated that they had to go down to records, that we needed to get with the records person, and it was on Friday, so they wasn't sure. So to follow back up on Monday, don't worry, we will. So just asked for them to go from the beginning in order to state what happened and took place. I'm going to give an abridged version, but I want to make sure to clarify some things because there were actual bold-faced lies on that YouTube today, and there is no space for that. And I think that's also where the challenge is. So when you all are stating, well, oh, Polo did this for you and he investigated it, that's just not what happened. And so then when you all are questioning this or that, it's super, super confusing because so much has been added in that just did not take place. So I'll start from the beginning. They stated that they started kind of in the middle. So they started from when their officer, who was a patrolman, got to the actual scene. They stated when they got to the scene, there was one witness who was and I'm not going to call the witnesses names because I don't want them to be harassed, but that witness was the person in the black car that was actually there. And then there were two other witnesses that were actually rendering aid. At this time, Kiara was already there. So I was confused when they said that they have on video the officer talking to Kiara. If Kiara, I'm sorry, whatever the pronunciation is, Lulu. That's easy for me to say so I don't get her name wrong. That was there. What was made clear is even with her demeanor and different things like that, which the witnesses have already stated, her demeanor was not that of a girlfriend who was concerned about her boyfriend being non-responsive laid out in the middle of the street. They went and they proceeded to tell us about the actual witnesses. They stated that they did know who he was because they had passed along his wallet and those particular things, but he went to UF Health under a trauma name. They stated while they were there, they had some initial conversation with Lulu before him actually going. They stated that her story for them, it was pretty consistent and that she did not ask for an attorney. So at first, that's why they didn't have pause. They stated that when they contacted Miss Renee, that she stated that Lulu was a model girlfriend, so they didn't feel any need to investigate. Well, serious questions that the family had. Oh, they named that Kiara stated that she didn't have anybody's phone number. So family members asked, well, wait a minute, hold on. She had all of our family phone numbers because we all loved her. She would text her. We accepted her. She was like family. They were adamant. The family said the same thing that Lieutenant Scott said, which they also said to me. With Renee, they had a wonderful relationship. For them, the breakdown in the relationship happened because when something so serious took place, they didn't reach out to them until a whole day later. As close as we are, when Renee lost her other two children, they raised money as a family because we are all family. No matter what the family dynamic is, how could you not let us know about something that is so serious? This is valid. Like, I guess for me, that's why I'm so confused about the backwards and the forth and what everybody got to say. That position is valid. We are a family. We're not a family that's beefing. This is supposed to be all love. Something major like this happened in the city where we don't know where he is. How could you not tell us? So therefore, tensions are high. Then when we get there, he's in bad shape. They're now going to pronounce him brain dead. We all going to feel a kind of way because we didn't get, number one, the opportunity to tell him goodbye. But number two, the opportunity to be there before it was time to tell him goodbye. And it's confusing as to why we didn't get that opportunity when we are family. And so everybody's sitting on the sidelines forming an opinion, but this makes sense. We proceed forward. As they state more in that investigation, they stated that they have video footage of, they can see that there is this, like I said, the black car is the one that came right after Kiara. They say they can see her doing a U-turn and then the car was right behind it. They were talking about her statement. She stated that she stated that he got out of the car willingly. He jumped out of the car, got out of the car, whatever it is, because he was upset and that she pulled off and didn't look back because she didn't want to get hit by another car. But by their statement in the video, there was no other car. And then the black car actually came up. So we're confused. If you're stating that her statement is consistent, how does it make sense that she stated that she did not look back because there was a car, she didn't want to get hit by cars behind her, where there actually was no cars on the road? The only other car that came up was one of the actual witnesses that called. I want to clarify because in this YouTube video, they stated in the 911 call that the person stated that they saw him be hit by another car. That's not what they stated. What they stated is that they were in the road. They believe maybe he got hit by a car. That was their inference. That's what their guess was because that's not what they saw. So even when they stated that with Kiara going to the store and actually coming back, the family stated their first story was that this happened at a store. So they're like, oh, that's easy. We can get the footage at the store. We're confused because they're stating they got video footage, but they say they didn't see actually what happened there. They state because the cameras at the light are only live feed only. So therefore, they can't go back and get anything. Questions we ask is, why are cameras only live feed only What's the purpose of the cameras? They say it's just for traffic directions, like on game days and different things like that. So then we asked, the video footage that you do have, where did you get that video footage? They stated that they got it from some of the businesses that were near that area, but it just so happens that the businesses don't have footage for that specific place that actually is right there. Other questions that we had is, he's outside of the car with the pizza box and wings. If you're jumping out of a car and you open the door, you don't have the ability, you only got two hands to open the door and hold on to a pizza box and wings. Other things that were brought up as they were talking, because the family list had like real questions, is did they ever identify that Dro was actually spotted somewhere? Because when they stated that they talked to the property manager from the cabins, that no one saw Dro. They stated that when we get the footage, we're going to see that it was actually Dro at Papa John's. They never stated if he was walking by himself. They never stated if he was sluggish or anything. They just said we're going to see that. They stated that they verified that at the hotel, he went to the hotel. She didn't go in because they saw text messages going back and forth where he broke a router and she went to AT&T. The confusion for the family is he has multiple phones. How do we actually verify that? Was he seen on camera footage going in the hotel, or did she send messages to herself? Valid question. So the point is this: they didn't have answers to any of the actual questions that were being asked. As we proceeded forward, when it came to the questions, basically it landed on how did you arrive at it being an accident? And basically they stated that they arrived at it being an accident because they can't see what happened. So the position is, then you can't say that it's an accident because there's an absence of evidence. That means that it's undetermined. Because until you can determine that it was murder or manslaughter or something egregious, or that it was an actual accident, how can you state that? And so they were like, oh, it's semantics. No, it's not semantics. It's undetermined, because at this moment, you don't know what happened. They wanted to let us know that the detectives investigated this very thoroughly. And the family's position is, no, you did not. Because when they went a few days later, they never secured the scene. The pizza box, the paper towel roll, everything was still there. They stated that the reason they didn't secure the scene is because they didn't see anything that looked like it might be criminal or a particular issue. There's a person laying in the middle of the road, non-responsive. The family would like to know, how do you not secure a scene and there's a person laying in the middle of the road, non-responsive, and you don't know what happened? When you look at the pictures of Dro, there are no abrasions. So if she's stating that he jumped out of a car going 30 miles, 25, 30 miles per hour, he would absolutely, that means his body is hitting the pavement at 25, 30 miles per hour. How is it? He has on a white tank top that has no dirt, no sand, no abrasions on his body, no anything. Right. The family brought up that the neurosurgeon stated that his injuries did not come from being hit by a vehicle. So the family asked multiple times, how could he get multiple blunt force trauma to the back of the head? And it is clear that this did not come from an automobile accident, but you're stating that this is accidental. So, and it could be accidental, which the family acknowledged, but if it was, you would be able to name how it was accidental, and you don't have the ability to actually do that. So as they move forward, the Captain Hallett said, well, neurosurgery doesn't investigate that part. And the family is like, right, that's exactly what we're stating. So you could not have investigated this thoroughly. Other points, they stated that they took 4 hours to take the car apart in order to get the infotainment system, which is like the Bluetooth, the apps, and different things like that. Mind you, they didn't get a warrant, because you got to go 2 separate warrants, one for the black box and one for the infotainment center. They only got a warrant for the infotainment center, but not the black box. Mm-hmm. And then the family asked, why did you not get a warrant for the black box? Well, they said, well, we didn't think it was traffic. They stated that a person was out of a moving car. How is that not traffic related? And so the deal is, no one's saying that Kiara is lying. But what we're stating is if that is the statement of the person or the witness that you're there, you would verify. That's just like if you had committed a crime with a co-conspirator, what would they tell you? They need corroborating evidence. So it would seem that you would have pulled the black box to verify if she was going 25, 30 miles per hour, but also you would actually be able to see braking patterns. You would know if she was speeding even before that time. You would know if she was driving erratically. There was so much other information that you could have gotten from this very vital piece of information or evidence that never was actually collected. Another thing that stood out to me when they stated that they dumped the infotainment system is they only had one location that she went to. That was from the hotel to AT&T. I'm confused. You're in a city you've never been to before. There is no other directions that she utilized in a city you've never been to before, except for that one place. So my question was, could it be that she utilized the GPS in order to create an alibi from the hotel to AT&T, since it's the only place that she went? There was not an answer for that particular question. I'm going to name, then we asked even as it related to the information that they got from Gilchrist County. All they got from Gilchrist County was the police report. So they didn't do anything additional. And from what they got from the police report, even in Gilchrist County did not actually interview the person who cleaned the cabin that they were actually in. They can only verify, they only interviewed one of the witnesses that stated that it was a really argument that was so bad that they called the property manager. They didn't get any additional details from the property manager. So there's so much from there that was not done. But because they also didn't get everything from Gilchrist County, we now know that we need to do records requests in Gilchrist County. And so there's other steps, which is actually what I explained even previously when I put up a post. And mind you, I actually stated this. The reason that prior to this, a few weeks ago, I put up a post on what the family should do was to kind of help you all, because I saw so many people in the comments giving advice that was incorrect advice. And when you are new to this and you are grieving and you really want justice, you will utilize all of this energy on advice that's not helpful. And you're trying to be helpful. You don't mean any harm, but that's what we will do because we don't know. So we're grasping at straws, trying to do everything. So that was my way. I was trying to help other people to slow down and say, wait a minute, maybe I'm not navigating this appropriately. There is a person that was going backwards and forth with me that the family needs to take this to the grand jury. What would the family be taken to the grand jury? Everything is very questionable. But the way that statutes actually work, you could file a charge because the actual statutes to file a charge are vague. Mm-hmm. And I want people to understand this. People are often arrested for charges, but those charges can often be actually thrown out because when you get to the phase of prosecuting those charges, if they don't meet specific elements, you can't prosecute. And so the deal is, if we're trying to get actual justice for him, then that justice is if there's actually a crime, then we go there. If the justice is that we actually find out that there is not a crime, then that's what actually would be acceptable. What is not acceptable is there are not answers. And part of the reason that there are not answers is because of all of the failures to do things in order. Even one of the questions that I had is when they made this determination is where is the policy? Where's the procedure? What is what's the rules of evidence? Which is one of the things that the Private Investigator Act, that you're making a determination. They said from the totality of the information. What is the totality of the information? You don't have any. And so I wanted to be able to state that even as we're sitting here, everything that I've known that the family has shared is exactly what the conversation was at GPD. So the way that I'm seeing people up under post stating that that Natasha's son was present, he was not. And this is actually a part of the evidence. So any video that was presented stating that or someone named Jason is false. There's a video of Jason when they made rounds, which was validated at the meeting with law enforcement today. He made rounds before they actually left Broward. And it's like so many of these things. There's a person named CC Lynn that was actually on the call that was stating that Natasha was trying to get this information as it relates to insurance. Let's talk about what actually came up with GPD and with the private eye as it relates to his estate. What's happening with his estate is his kid's mother is the person that will file probate on their behalf. They will take his estate and put it in probate. When it goes to his children, it will go in a trust for his children. So for those of you all that say, oh, well, they're looking for a payday for them, that's not even how it works. But everybody is talking because they don't actually know how the law actually works. Even when they stated that it was false, that he had a bank account with one of his aunts, that is actually not false. And once they finally got a death certificate, the money that was actually transferred out was, and from that account to the joint account that him and Lulu had, was actually recovered and returned to that account. The account that he had individually, they can't recover that money, where the significant amount of money actually is, until everything happens in probate. But if Lulu so happens to spend that money, there absolutely already is a crime. And then people say, well, he wanted to have the money. It doesn't matter. The law actually does not work that way. His children are his next of kin. Mm-hmm. If he didn't leave it in an actual will or something like that, she's not entitled to it. They're not married. She's not entitled to it. So I want to be clear about what actually is happening. Everybody has, y'all done fetishized this. It has become so, like, y'all ain't even focused on your own lives because you're so busy being detectives and breaking this down, and all of the information is just actually incorrect. And I think that's what it is. So when you're stating that people are looking for, like Natasha is showing me that she's not monetized. She doesn't owe me that. Even if she was, it just so that doesn't stop her needing justice for her nephew. But the fact that people are being forced to explain things like this to people who are offering no help and assistance. But I do want to clarify for the people who did donate for the private investigator. This is a real thing. This is an actual expert. This is really going on. I want you all to gauge your source. You all are literally listening to a person who gets on a live video drunk and look like high as a kite. And let me be clear. My dad is one of the biggest dope dealers there was most of my life. So I know a person that do drugs. Let me be very clear. And if you think I'm a lie, ask anybody who my daddy is. I want to be crystal clear. And at the end of his life, even when he stopped selling drugs, his backyard, he used to allow people who smoke crack to actually camp out of his backyard. So if I know somebody who do drugs and be erratic, I know somebody who do drugs and be erratic. And I want to clarify this because then I'm watching, even on this video, how now he's the victim. And oh, this family turned her against me. Actually, no. Because I had nothing to say about him until literally he was, even when he did a live video and added me into it after we sat like this, it still was okay. What was not okay is when I woke up the next morning when you created a post directly directed at me. So you opened up the door. So then I came in and sat down. That's all that happened. And I'm like that. I'm a Gemini. So literally, I don't match energy. I exceed it. It is me by nature. And so I want to state that because you're villainizing a family who, for me, whatever has happened outside of that, I can clearly state for me, they have not. And I told him that each time we have talked, the thing that I've appreciated, I don't know if I was grieving a family member, if I could, even in a conversation when I got questions, keep recentering. If she didn't do anything, we will accept that. We want answers. That's how they're ending each conversation. I don't know if I could be, even as they're stating, we don't even know what happened with Renee. This was it is. These people have centered this for me in every conversation. And so as I'm looking and seeing how this has spiraled, I'm not getting what y'all gather. And I will be clear. I've not tuned in fully to all of their live videos because of the time I have. I can speak 100% for the interactions that I have. I can speak for the body of work that I am. I can speak for all of the things that have been accomplished. I can speak for every point that has been raised has been truly valid. And I want to make sure that I speak in that particular manner because the plot has been lost. And from this point forward, we're getting back to the plot. All of that noise, we're going to let it roll off our backs like water to ensure that we stay focused. Even the main reason that we spoke to it on Monday is because I wanted to ensure that people who had donated their money understood that it actually was going to the right thing, and it literally is going to the best of the best. And they will tell you, I'm not easily impressed at all. Let me be clear. I am very rarely impressed with anybody related to law enforcement. To sit with that private investigator for all the hours that we did today, to listen to his relevant questions, to listen to the things that he's already done, to listen to his next steps, the level of communication, the level of transparency, and the knowledge that he has, and even the things that he actually explained next steps, even as it helps for us to navigate to go back and ask. Because we've already asked before we left GPD for them to go back to the medical examiner. And this needs to be undetermined. They've never dealt with this before. So now they're having to go back and actually see what it is. So there's not people being unreasonable. This is not people actually being just unemotional. There literally is valid questions. This is really things that just absolutely don't make sense. Other things that came up and transpired that actually came out are times that Lulu stated that she was going to drive and run them off the road. Other times that because she lied and told the officers that they normally get upset and the other people go off and cool down and then come back. And then they're finding out, like, no, when you go look at other things, the exact opposite has happened. She lied and stated that he was so upset about things that he found related to his daughter, only for the actual truth to be that his relationship with his daughter was strained or almost non-existent because of her. And each time that it should have been a time to navigate the relationship, she was telling him not to have a relationship with his teenage daughter. This child's like 14. And she's unappreciative. She's this. She's a child. She's a child. As a woman being with a man, you're supposed to be trying to do everything you can to bridge this relationship and make it a healthy one. And so what I'm looking at is there's been a huge level, and I'm telling you what it is as we're talking to GPD. So this is not the family. This is what it is, a great level of manipulation that actually took place in all of these things. So you're seeing the same pattern, because I'm big on pattern recognition when you're talking to law enforcement. I'm hearing on this video, she stated that Natasha's son assaulted her. It wasn't Natasha's son. Like, actual lies, and she wasn't assaulted. The actual story was a family member was asking for Dro's belongings, which also is valid. You're the last person with my family member who now has passed away. You are not giving straight answers. Your story has changed. At one juncture, you were not even answering any calls or anything. Why would you have his belongings? And the fact that people are acting like they don't understand this makes absolutely no sense. It's actually batshit crazy. And I have to state that, like, very clearly, like the spin that has been put on this. And I understand there's a benefit if there's a spin put on this. There's a benefit if there's chaos. We're not doing that. The fact that the family's been quiet and work is being put in, and 7-hour YouTubes, post after post after post, how is it that you all are tuned in and you don't see what the actual issue is? Like, for me, I don't understand that part. And so those are the things, like, primarily that I wanted to share. I definitely want to turn it over to Natalie and Natasha and everyone else to actually weigh in. Once they do that, I will be happy to share from my point of view what next steps are. They will be 2, but I want to be very clear. Proceeding forward, we're going back into that mode where the updates are the steps that are happening. Updates are people and boots on the ground. The updates are what next things we're requesting. The updates are what our asks are. Like, literally, that's what it is. The updates are what is the PI finding out. That's actual investigation. There's actual factual things that could be presented in a court of law, whether that's in a civil case and in a criminal case, not innuendo, not things that are actually made up. The number of you all that have stated that this person did the work and is this, and I'm actually sitting with law enforcement and their actual blatant lies is literally beyond me. I am just appalled. Like, I'm in shock. Like, even when I started to get the videos after being with law enforcement and realizing, like, to get on this app and blatantly lie for things that are actually verifiable. Even with this CC Lynn, and I'm looking at actual text interactions with her and Natasha, and it's clear they're not best friends. And it's clear that she's telling Natasha to reach out to her family member that's ex-law enforcement about the case, not actually about money. I'm looking at her state and dog out Renee and Lulu. I'm looking like and that's the deal. Looking for their 15 minutes of fame. And because you all don't know these people and you're looking on the sidelines, y'all just bobbing and weaving, bobbing and weaving. So I'm challenging you all to be better. I'm challenging you all to use actual critical thinking and actually step back for a minute. And with some of this, try to figure out what is the actual benefit. For some of this, ask about probate. Ask what happens in the actual estate. Ask what actually takes place. Even, and I think that's the deal. If anybody messes with anything related to his estate, they could be in trouble because it is his kids, even before prior to his mom, because he has kids. It is his children who are entitled to it. The way you all have said, oh, they're looking for a payday, and literally, like it's his kid's mom that is entitled to actually go and get the estate for her children is beyond me. The fact that the bank account with his aunt that you said doesn't exist absolutely existed, and that money has already been recovered is beyond me. The way that so many accusations that have been made have been disproven, like just blatantly just disproven. The fact that you all believe because somebody threw something up with actual no like validation is so very confusing to me. And I get it, it's sensationalized, it's in that time. And even to you was like, well, shoot, what reason they got to lie? I don't know, but I do. That dopamine rush that they need from all the excitement, all the attention, that's what happened. And right now it is total withdrawal. But these are the things that took place. And I'm laying them out for you now because when the actual evidence actually is released, I'm actually going to start to release the actual clips to verify. So we're putting it on record so that when the actual evidence that will be date, time stamped, and everything else becomes available to share with you all. And so with that, Natasha and Natalie, I would love to turn it over to you all.
Go ahead, Natalie.
Um, I want to first thank you, Shanae, for meeting with us today. We all had a long, long day, but I think it was very beneficial. I think it was
Mhm.
very important what we got out of today. We had to give ourselves a boost of energy on the way home. We had to play some songs that resonate with us just because it was a lot to handle and a lot to process. Um, this journey, I've stated 1,000 times, is not easy for us as a family. We are doing it. We are going through it. We are not giving up. We are not done. But today just showed us that there is so much more that we have to do. There's so much more push that is going to be required. And we are in this fight. So we're okay with that. I think that the one thing that we have recognized through this process is that everybody who's in a journey with you is not going to do the entire journey with you. And everybody who's a part of your journey at this moment may not be entitled to be a part of your journey at the end. So people who are being removed from around us, it's happening for a reason. There is an explanation for everything that's happening. And although we are not taking the time to address each individual statement that's being made, understand us when we say just because receipts aren't being posted on this end does not mean they do not exist. Just because we are not addressing every concern that's being put out into the eyes of the public does not mean that there is not evidence to support the things that we know to be true. There are a lot of things that are being put out in the public right now that it was very easy for us to show Mission A, look, here's the evidence to show that that's not accurate. Look, here's the accurate information. Look, here is the receipts. So you, when using the receipts that we gave you, be mindful that just because we gave you some things does not mean that we've given you everything. And us not giving everything was never in an attempt to lack transparency or to hide anything. It was simply to protect the investigation, to protect the things we know, and to protect other people. So while people are coming out now choosing to be social choosing to seek their 15 minutes of fame, understand just as we gave information to Polo, there is additional information that's available. And even if we choose to not publicly share it or publicly embarrass these individuals, understand that there are receipts, there is additional information, but that's not our goal. That is not our priority. That is not our focus. Our focus is and has been justice for Dro. So, despite the noise that is being put out there and the information that's being misrepresented about our family, understand, despite our grief, despite our frustration, despite our ill feelings about some of the things that are putting out there, we are focused on what we are here for. And we will not be distracted because we understand that every distraction and every storyline that's being put out there, every attempt to distract individuals are taking away from what matters. It's taken away from Dro. It's taken away from this case. It's taken away from his kids. And it's taken away from justice. And our goal, and I continue to say this and I will continue to say this, we need to be able to tell his kids what happened. And if by chance law enforcement does everything that they can do, if by chance the medical examiner has reviewed everything that they have, if by chance the hospital records have been reviewed, if by chance our private investigator does their investigation, if by chance Shanae steps in and helps us get all of the records we have, and with everything we gather, there is not enough evidence to support and or disprove what happened, then we will accept that and we will have that conversation at that time with his children. We are not asking for a wrongful conviction. We are not asking for someone to be held accountable who is not accountable. What we are asking for is a thorough investigation. Has an investigation been done? Yes. Was it thorough? Absolutely not. And that's what we learned today. The questions that we asked, the information that we obtained, and the responses that we received showed us today that there was a lot of things missed in this investigation. And for that reason, we are going to continue to fight and seek answers. But understand, whatever the outcome is, we will have to accept that. But we're asking that the outcome be based off facts, off evidence, off what is able to be proven, not off of a statement, not off of what you think, but what does the evidence support? And whatever that is, that's what we will accept as a family. But if you don't have the evidence, or you didn't do an investigation, or the isn't done, or the outcome is based off of one person's statement, and that one person has a vested interest, that isn't sufficient, and it will never be for my family. We will never accept simply that. You have to give us either this proof to support whatever you're saying, or just let us know that you don't know. Make it make sense, or let us know that you can't determine what occurred. But give us honest, give us a full investigation, give us truth, give us, you guys have done everything that you can do, and we'll take it.
Okay, so I thank you for saying that, Natalie. Thank you for Shanae. And I just want to say this, after taking that journey to Gainesville, it was so necessary for us to be there. It was, I can say, a kind of emotional roller coaster. We know T2 in real life. That's our blood, our family. So even though he's touched lives around the world, to be in them shoes, you can't say really how you feel unless you experience a similar situation or your family has been through what we're going through and you're able to minister to us. However, the best thing that I took out of the meeting that we had today with Gainesville Police Chief and the important people, how about that, in that room today, was the main focus of them admitting they don't know what happened. Them admitting they don't have the proper evidence to support what happened. They ruled it out as an accident. They did admit, and they did not have an answer to why they took that answer of accident to seal it. Now, after speaking with Shanae Jackson and the Davis family, it's going back under judgment as to what the incident was ruled out as far as my nephew death. I'm gonna put it like that. Now, me personally, you left my nephew. You abandoned my nephew. I still feel what I feel, and I'm not gonna change that. I'm a human. So, as long as I know that no matter what it looked like, no matter what's on the paper, he can change anything. And because we stood up to show up and to it allowed them to know the Davis family not backing down, the Davis family will not accept accident, and the Davis family is not going to support what is on that black and white because you cannot give us any evidence to back it up. And not only that, the one thing that they did say that they saw did not show my nephew jumping out of vehicle. And that's the main thing was not clear. So whoever, oh, I'm sorry, whoever decides to think whatever they want to think, that's fine. But there was no video footage. And that's the main thing that they were saying. All they saw was a U-turn. And that came to the conclusion, oh, it was an accident because we didn't feel it was a criminal event that happened that led up to that becoming an accident. No, not acceptable. And then I just said, we asked the right questions. Shanae was on top. There was a list going down through the list, and it was like, oh, the napkins. What napkins? The nurse said that there was napkins. Like it was a lot of unanswered questions. You don't know about this. You don't know about that. Oh, well, Stephen Dose, they did a thorough investigation. Break it down. What they did thorough. In the end, a conclusion of the matter is that judgment on accident can be changed. We have work to do. We are willing to do the work. And that's the main thing that we're there for, not to lose the plot. Justice for Dro. Thank everybody that's still on a positive justice for Dro. If you really want justice for Dro, you'll stand. The Davis family has to put in the work because nothing can be done justice for Dro without the Davis family. So we can all come along together in a positive manner and seek justice for Dro. We're not putting up crosses saying, no, you're not allowed unless there is negativity. We're not going to get distracted. I can't give the power of the non-factors and all this that's going on. And I'm just going to be clear since I'm on here tonight. It is a lot of nonsense, foolishness. And if you want to burn your energy following up this page and that page and the bloggers, that's fine. But one thing I'm not going to do, and I'm not going to address everything, but where I come from, where I am, my integrity, my character, anybody knows me. We don't do fraud. Anybody knows me. I don't have to do fraud. I enjoy having a job. I enjoy getting a W-2. I enjoy helping people. I enjoy my personal business that I do on my own as a CEO of my baskets and my this and my that. So I always had a reputation. I don't have to do fraud. So at the end of the day, I'm going to say this. Once again, I'm not a liar. Cece is not my friend. I sent over Shanae our evidence, and I'm not going to say receipts, evidence showing that's not my friend of 30 years. This lady reached out to me January 1st to say, Happy New Year's. This is Lynn. Friend, if you was mine, and I knew that you wouldn't have to do that. You told me to come by to get some things to help out too. T2 Candlelight. You gave me your address. Friend of 30 years, I would have your address. You
Thank you
say
for
your
saying it
children.
first. So what stood out? So let me state to
Okay.
you what stood out because I didn't state to you. So like I told you, I'm very big with pattern recognition. What stood out is not that also that she kept reaching out to you, but she kept following up because you had not followed up. So she kept asking when you were coming by. She kept saying you didn't come. She kept asking, did you follow up? She kept asking when you were going to follow up. Even when you were very short.
Mhm.
And so you weren't very responsive. So then I guess when that didn't work, so then she told you that Miss Renee and Lulu came to the funeral home. Then she started talking about money and you really didn't say much. And you
Correct.
kept saying, I want to do what I need to do for like my nephew. So me listening to the small part that I did of the YouTube and then looking at the actual text messages, they're not even close to what she actually stated. She actually was very aggressive in trying to get you to respond, and you weren't rude, but you can tell that you were like, hey, like I'll get to it. I just haven't had the opportunity to. And so I want to name that and that's the reason I cut you off. You don't even necessarily have to explain that. Let that part speak for itself. Like I said, I
Thank
wanted
you
to
for
make sure
saying
that
it.
we clarified everything because they're dwelling in the chaos. Like I said, I wanted to make the time to make sure we reset and get back to
Okay.
the situation
Yeah.
at hand because
Okay.
what we're trying to do got drowned. And what did I state? And Natalie, me and you had conversations. It never was a conversation about who anybody was doing anything. And what I said, at least it's keeping it relevant. I didn't know it had gone off the rails to the point that they were taking away
Yes.
from what was happening. And so if I knew if it was going to be a big deal, we would have made it known what we had going on behind the scenes prior to that. I want to be clear. I'm of the position that everybody has different roles. And the people in my city know I'm very clear with that. We all can do like different things. So for me, it's not about who's up front. It's about how we can work together to get things done. And even when we were at the Sunoco next to GPD, the number of people who rode by honking the horn and saying
Yes. Yeah.
and we're very excited about that. And so
They
I
were very
remember I told you
excited.
this. I said, what did I tell you? I said on Monday, we're going to clear the air because you're going to have two people. You're going to understand who just likes mess, and you're going to understand who really is here for Justice Adro. And I
Justice
said
for
from
girls.
there, we're going to be able to proceed forward. And that's what we're
We
now
are. We are.
and that's what it's about. And so that's it. I purposely have not put up the comments for us to even see what anybody's saying, not to even get into that. That's why. So if people are questioning why we're taking the time in this moment, this is our reset. This is what it is. So when the actual evidence is finally turned over, all we're doing is date timestamps. If anybody chooses to believe the bullshit after this, it is because they are people who like mess. We've
Yes.
come today to state what was shared from the PI and law enforcement. So this is not
Yes.
hearsay and gossip. This is actually what it is.
Yes.
Also, to model for people how things work, what a process actually is. And even when we're talking about his estate, who it actually goes to. So even people who are thinking that, oh, as it relates to Miss Renee or as it relates to that, at the end of the day, it's all going to come out in the wash because the children are entitled to it. So anybody thinking they're entitled to anything, they're not. It goes even with his children, it goes into a trust until they're 18 years of age.
Yes.
So I want to make sure that we even put that to rest as people are stating, well, oh, they thought it was because he left for bag. It's none of that. It is literally for the right and the appropriate thing for
Mhm.
them. It is right
Yes.
and the appropriate thing just to know what happened. And like I said, I can speak for that's the way that it's always been in every conversation that we have ever had. Today, you all were true to exactly who you've been the whole time. Everything you're stating here now is what you said in the actual meeting. And you were very clear. We're not trying to place blame if that's not what happened. Just from the information we have, something's not right. Why has the story changed? Why do we not have clear answers? Why are we only finding out things once we get additional information? And all of those things are very valid. And I have to state that as they share other things, you ask other questions. Once we get the evidence, I shared that with you all. We go through it. There's other things that are going to stick out to you all because you knew both of them. Also, too, the other thing I want to verify because they were stating that Lulu hit him with one car and then went to the gas station to switch out another car. That did not happen. It is clear from the footage that they do have that they can see her at the light and she makes the U-turn. And then the next car that comes up is the actual witness that was there that called it in. So that's a lie. And also, they were able to verify that there is nothing no one could fit in the car. The only two people in the car were those two. So I wanted to also make sure to put those particular rumors to rest. So when you're stating, oh, he put it together, those things are not true. And so I'm not going to allow things to that are not true to be out there, even if it makes her look good, bad, or indifferent. Those things did not happen. So, and even as they stated that, questions I had is, so did an altercation happen there and there was blunt force trauma? And sometimes that happens where you actually start to have a bleed on your brain. And I will state this, if he had blunt force trauma from there and got a bleed on his brain, he may have gotten out of the car, but not if she was going 25, 30 because he has no scrapes. So it's the things is you can't make an inference with the information that is given, there's still more questions than answers. And so I wanted to make sure, as well as I thought about those things, that what this is about is putting the best information, letting you know what was actually gathered, where we can go from here. And right now, we're going back to it is actually undetermined. And the next steps are asking for them to get a warrant for the black box because they didn't. And that's just to verify if they get a warrant for that black box and it verifies she was going to 25, 30, like she said, and there was no erratic driving patterns, then we cross that bridge once we get to it. And then we're going to get some additional records from Gilchrist County. And then we're going to get the records from the ambulance that took him to the hospital because they state that the medical records will be in the stuff that I actually requested. Like, this is the process. And then there are some specific things that we're not sharing right now that the private investigator is actually following up on. And then the private investigator has given us some steps once we actually gathered the particular evidence. But they started out very transparent. And we're going to try to stay as transparent as possible where it does not hinder the investigation. And like I said, I want to center whoever donated your money. It absolutely has gone to where it is. And I want to center that it has been a great investment. And when this gets to a resolution, I would love to share who this private investigator is. He, like I said, 22 years law enforcement. He is national FBI certified. And then I went with the connections that I have here in our justice system, and he is absolutely an expert. They did a phenomenal. I had nothing to do with who they chose, but they did a phenomenal job with who they chose.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Keep supporting Justice for Dro. That's what it's all about. We're going to keep sticking to the plot, nothing else. So positive, Justice for Dro. That's all we want. And y'all keep going, walking with us.
Absolutely. So y'all, everybody have a good night.
Thank you, Shanae.
We'll keep you all posted.
Thank you. Good night.